Well, let me take you outside of Ghana and let's have a discussion on West Africa. I'm sure you heard about the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group, as you may be aware, is a private army, mostly in Russia. Now, yesterday, Bloomberg reported that Russia, in a new push to expand its influence in Africa, is recruiting for an armed force to replace the Wagner Group's mercenaries across the continent. This afternoon, we begin the conversation with the aim to give background and explanation to the Russian private army, the Wagner, its origin, their objective, and their methods as employed in Africa, particularly the West African sub-region. Also, how their presence affects us here in Ghana. On the line is Dr. Adams Bona, a security analyst, and also Dr. Ishmael, international relations expert. So let me start with you, Dr. Bona. Wagner, I mean, we know that it is associated with Russia, and they are those who want to even extend it to make it an association of Vladimir Putin. So why is their presence in Africa, especially West Africa, such a concern to us?
Well, yes. Good afternoon or good evening to yourself, your viewers, and my co-panelists on the other side. Well, their presence in the sub-region should be a matter of concern to us for a simple fact that if you know how the Wagner Group or the Wagner Group have operated, they were used in Ukraine, they've been used in a lot of the dirty wars Russia has fought. And Russia clandestinely used them because, first of all, once they were a registered private security company. Therefore, it makes it difficult to probably put sanctions on Russia for crimes that are committed by the Wagner or the Wagner Group. And we all know that their leader who crashed somewhere, I think in September or so last year, his association to what do you call it, the Putin and his lieutenants. And so we should be concerned because it's a proxy war being fought amongst the West and then the East. And now we are in the middle and we are the sufferers. You know that after the fall of Libya, when Gaddafi fell, after the fall of Libya, a lot of arms, illicit firearms, have been shipped into the sub-region. And that is what has destabilized Niger, Mali, Burkina, and the rest. And so, and all of these countries in the sub-region are mineral rich. And apart from that, you must also know that various militaries in the West have been trying to come in the sub-region. And so in terms of international relations, there is some disquiet that is ongoing because then you have, what's the name? France. France gradually is losing its power over these countries. Most of these countries were under Côte d'Ivoire, but we know that they no longer see Côte d'Ivoire as a big brother when you talk about Francophone West Africa. And so their presence here means that they could commit a lot of atrocities. They could come in and out. They could be squatting in Burkina and sending indigents who they have recruited into a mining site to help them mine. And they do well. They thrive well in countries that are, you know, probably not stable. And so we would have to be concerned because any military that thrives well or any country that would want to do well at the back of countries that are not stable, then you know it has to be a matter of concern. Even though some of us have spoken a lot about France and their presence in these countries and what they've done to most of these countries, I think that the presence of the Wagner Group, I mean, every now and then you pick intel that arms are moving into some of these countries, Niger, Burkina, and all that. And so if you having done some work with ECOWAS the AU and the rest. There are various arms treaties that if you are a member state of the sub-region, you sign a treaty that if you are going to purchase firearms, armor tanks, jet fighters, and the rest, the other signatories or the other West African countries must approve of whatever you are going to do. The idea is to put in checks and balances.
Right.
So if Ghana, for instance, we have a military together with police and all our security forces is less than 100,000, and Ghana decides to buy, let's say, 2 million AK-47s, chances are that Togo will disagree. Okay. If Togo disagrees, Ghana cannot purchase, because then Togo would begin to feel that we are likely to colonize them or invade them. Nigeria would disagree. And so these treaties have helped to stabilize somehow these countries without one country feeling powerful. So it is something that among member states, we get to know what each country is buying in terms of war materials.
Right.
But as it is now that these countries have withdrawn from the bloc, it means that we are blinded. We don't know what they are purchasing. We don't, are they purchasing? We don't know what the trade-off is. We don't know what Russia is shipping in. We don't know what the Wagner group is bringing, because we all know, I mean, it's an open secret that Russia has pledged to support these countries. So we are in West Africa, and we don't know how powerful Burkina is becoming in terms of military-wise. Mm-hmm. We don't know how powerful Niger is becoming in terms of military. And some of these firearms could end up in the wrong hands. And once they do, chances are that it will cascade down into countries like ours that enjoy relatively peace. It's a matter of concern.
Yes, Dr. Bernard, hold it there for me. Let me bring in Dr. Ishmael Kloba. So, Dr. Dr. Bernard has laid out the facts for us. Ghana clearly, from what is happening in the sub-region, the intention to leave ECOWAS, as announced by Burkina Faso and Mali, clearly makes our situation and the security in the sub-region quite a matter that must be addressed head-on. What would you say should be the solution going forward in terms of the issues that have clearly we are confronted with?
Okay, thank you, and good evening to you and your listener, as well as my co-panelists. The point is that where we have reached now, it is clear that from the beginning, we have not actually handled the issue well as a bloc, that we went in full swing trying to impose sanctions, thereby driving them far away. I mean, we virtually pushed them into the hands of the Russians. So what is happening now is that they felt left out, and therefore they are looking for a way to kind of have full Russians backing. So if they leave the bloc, then Russia have the chance to have any form of deal that they would like to have with them. But I also think that part of their strategy is to use the announcement of leaving the bloc to call the bloc to come to the negotiation table. So it is time that we go back to have a negotiation and look at the conditions under which we can bring them back into the bloc, because they staying in the bloc is better for us than outside the bloc.
Right.
But outside the bloc become very unstable for all of us to deal with. Because as Doc clearly said, it means that whatever they are doing with any other power, we may not have any say. But if they stay within the bloc, then we look at how do we reduce the sanctions and allow them to fight. Clearly, what has happened is that the ECOWAS sanctions have been biting them, in the sense that if we look at current happenings in Niger, for instance, there are shortages of essential commodities and so forth and so on. So the regimes are beginning to feel the pressure. And one way that these kind of regimes react to pressure is to externalize their problems, to say that the outside is the problem, not them. And that is exactly what they are doing, to claim that, yes, ECOWAS have not been helpful to them, therefore they are leaving the bloc. And partly, I think that is because ECOWAS has not engaged. Last week, Thursday, there was supposed to be a meeting, and for some reason, there was some technical mistake where
they couldn't take off.
The delegation developed a fault. Now, so they felt that you are not ready to engage. And once there's absence of engagement, then they have to look for alternatives. Once the sanctions are batched and they are negotiating to have them reduced and they are not getting any headway, then you open the door for this superpower maneuvering that's happening within the sub-region. We are living in a world that has significantly changed. because they are now new centers of power that are competing with U.S. interests. And if you look at these countries, the reason why Wagner is in those countries is because, once, they have the resources that Russians, and if you look at the deal they enter with this group, it's always to provide security, and then they have the lucrative deals such as gold, such as diamond, and the mining. And what is clearly happening is that in this type of regimes, the problem is with it is that the leaders normally feel insecure. So they are looking for regime stability. And once they pursue the policy of regime stability, the citizens will suffer. So it moves away from trying to maintain the stability of the state and then trying to maintain rather the stability of a regime. And when that happens, all other voices are muted, and the citizens will then begin to suffer various human rights violations. And of course, this group is actually associated with a lot of violation of human rights. So what should happen now is that ECOWAS need to bring them to the negotiation table, try to reach an amicable settlement with this group so that they remain within the bloc, because we are better off with them within the bloc than outside. All
right, thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Glovo, and of course, Dr. Adams Bona. This is where time will permit us to look into this. But clearly, I know that ECOWAS is taking this matter up. They are trying to see how best they can resolve this matter involving Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. But that's it for today's edition of The Pulse. We are back tomorrow, same time. But for more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Broby. Have a good evening.